Hello, welcome back to the James Ramblin' Reviews channel, and in today's review we're going to be talking about House of the Dragon Season 2. But before I get into my thoughts about the recent episode of this show, I will mention that I have said this in previous reviews that I'm not going to spoil the entire episode because I want people to actually experience this for themselves. Yes, there are people who do this and they spoil the whole thing and they give away all the details, but I'm not going to be doing that because I just feel a bit bad about that. Like, absolutely go and tune into this because I'm absolutely having a blast and I would rather let you enjoy it for yourself. You know what I mean? So there's definitely that, but I'll obviously get into sort of what this episode is containing, giving you my thoughts on this episode as a whole, and pretty much that is what this episode of this review is going to be. Is that we're going to talk about the plot and stuff like that. So pretty much what you're getting to see here is like a continuation of previous episodes. So what do I mean? So in the past few episodes, right, House of the Dragon season 2, we started to build this idea that all of these characters are actually partaking in a war against each other, and that's kind of what this whole series has been about, is to build this established idea that there's a war going on. So you get to see these different ideas get into play and play into perspective and stuff like that. So there's a lot of characters where we get to see how they feel about this situation, then that'll play out and that'll have a rippling effect on how another character feels about another situation that goes on inside of this kind of series, if you know what I mean. So there's a few characters, like I would say Rhaenyra, she's on this side where she doesn't want the war to happen, whereas you've got the crazy King Aegon. He's this self-indulgent man who's like, yeah, don't really care if all you guys die as long as I'm in power, sort of thing. So there's definitely that going for it. And so when it comes to this episode as a whole, I would say I did actually prefer this a little bit better to last week's episode. Now, yes, we did get a lot of good moments like Damon in last week's episode, and there was conversations that did build up to certain ideas. But for me personally, I would say episodes 1 to 3, we were kind of just slowly building up to this thing that was happening, but there's nothing really happening, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah, there was interesting conversations, there was actually build up, but there was no point where there's action. There's certainly a way where there's going to be tons of action and there's going to be war breaking out, and so I would say that this episode definitely does this thing of actually presenting a lot more action this time. And what do I mean by that? So I would say in the last 19 or so minutes, the episode actually gets a bit more action packed, and you get to see these characters absolutely go nuts. And it's not like it randomly happens, it's like this one set of dialogue at this part of the episode. Like, I think it's later on in the episode, like, just vaguely speaking, just so I don't spoil it. There's this point where one of the characters, I think it was Rhaenys, I think her name is, she just says this thing, and then it just turns into this absolute warfare, and you see all these characters kind of moving around, and you do get to see stuff happening where there is actually action. And I would say the last time that we actually got a bit of action was between those twin brothers or whatever in the first or second episode, but we haven't had a lot of action since then, so it was nice to see that we actually got a bit of action this time. And so I did really appreciate about that. That's what I appreciated about this episode, was that we did get a bit more action this time. And I would say that the acting is pretty decent in here, and and I would say that the action is pretty shocking because it's like, what the heck, this is so insane, what's happening right now, sort of thing. And really did enjoy that about the episode. And the acting, did enjoy the acting as well. Like, you definitely get to see that these actors they know what they're doing, they're taking the material seriously, and there's stuff like that where you get to see these actors play out their roles. It kind of makes sense, and I would say that about the episode as well, that there is non-stop really good acting in here, and the actors really take the job seriously. So there's that. The action, I do think that next week we're gonna get a bit more action again, and I'm glad that we're actually getting a bit more action this time and not just kind of like building up to a certain situation, and in that certain situation it just leads to more talking. Because yes, the conversations are important here, but I would still like to see some action because we're going to war and we want to fight, sort of thing. And so that is kind of how I feel about this episode of House of the Dragon Season 2, and I can't wait for more of this episode, if you know what I mean, this whole series. I can't wait to see a lot more of this show because I have been enjoying it. I have been enjoying covering it, so I'd like to maybe review the entire season as well. So that's my thoughts as a whole on this episode. So hope you stay tuned for more like it because I can't wait to do more. So yeah, bye. See you next time for another episode of the James Rambling Reviews or another episode of the House of the Dragon series videos that we've been doing. So yeah, bye. Tried to record this a few times, so that's kind of my thoughts really. So yeah, bye.